everybody, and welcome to another week of Let's Talk. I am your host, author Dre Lett. Thank you for joining me for another fun filled week where we inform and we inspire and motivate. We get you going during these tough times and beyond. So come on in and have a seat so we can let's talk. Each week, you can view my show live on Friday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my Facebook page, which is called Let's Talk with Arthur Dre Lett. Or you can watch all the pre recordings on the same Facebook page and, of course, on YouTube under Let's Talk with Arthur Dre Lett. You can also purchase my books on my website, which is on dtlproduct.net, or you can go to amazon.com and type in my name, Dre, D-R-E, space L-E-T-T, and all the information scrolling down there at the bottom for you. So, you guys, this is a somber week. In the last 7 days, we've had a tough time. Last Saturday, we had the Buffalo shootings where a gunman, I'm not going to say his name, he does not earn the right for me to mention his name on my show. He went in and shot and murdered, unfortunately, 10 African Americans. So sad. My thoughts and prayers go out to the victims and their families. And then shortly thereafter, we also had several shootings here in Atlanta and all around the United States. And I just thought it would be befitting to have a show called Mental Health. So this Friday is called Mental Health Friday. So we have someone that's not a stranger to the show. She'll be on shortly. We have Dr. Valder Crowder, also affectionately known as Dr. V. She is a doctor that works in emergency room. She's got years of experience and training, and she's dealt with issues like this. So she'll be on to talk about mental health and gun violence. And then later on, we have actor comedian who will do his segment, Let's Talk Hollywood. So again, I just thought it would just be good just to have those topics discussed because it seems like every time you turn on the news, somebody is shooting, whether it's road rage or what have you. It's just getting to be ridiculous, just ridiculous. So, want to give a shout out to my Let's Talk fam. Those of you that are tuning in, you guys come on in and have a seat. Looks like we got somebody new. Let's see, Julius Rivera. Hello from Memphis. Hi, Julius. Welcome to Let's Talk. Thank you for saying hello. Some people watch the show and they don't want to say hello, and that's all good. But I'm super excited to have you tuning in with us. And we have another faithful viewer, my cousin Diana. She says, "Hello, everyone. Good to be here on this Friday." Yes, indeed. Another day above ground, right? Cuz I know that's right. So, as other people are tuning in and checking in, you guys, I'm going to share a message from our sponsor. And again, if you guys ever want to be a sponsor, just reach out to me and send me a message in my inbox, and we'll have somebody get back with you. Or you can go to my website and you can scroll down to the bottom where it says contact us and submit a message to us, and we'll get back with you. Again, if you want to be a sponsor, you can have an ad, or we can help you produce an ad, or even if you just want me to wear your lipstick, your necklace, your shirt, what have you, just reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to discuss those things with you, me and my team. Okay, so without further ado, here's a message from our sponsors.
My name is Attorney Angel White, and I am the founding partner with the Law Office of Angel S. White. Our office specializes in estate planning. We encourage all of our clients to have a comprehensive estate plan, which consists of a will, a power of attorney, and a healthcare directive. A will is simply a document that says where you want your belongings to go in the event that you pass, who you want to have the items that you have worked hard for. A power of attorney, on the other hand, is a document that states in the event that I become incapacitated for some reason, like dementia or find yourself in a coma. This allows someone to step into your shoes to take care of the business of your life while you are incapacitated. They are also required to account for the things that they have done while you are incapacitated. So when you come to, you can know what happened in your life with respect to your property or your money. Lastly, we encourage every client of ours to have a healthcare directive. This is a very different document. This document says, in the event that I am in the hospital, I want to be able to speak to the doctors from this document if I am unable to speak for myself. This says, doctors, this is what I want. Whether you want to do not resuscitate or whether you want the doctor to know, doctor, give me everything you got to save my life. It also comes into play and allows you to speak post-mortem. It allows you to be, this is your last chance to be able to say, this is what I want to happen to my body, where I want my remains interned, how I want my ashes to be scattered or stored. These are very important documents and allows you to speak your life through this comprehensive estate plan. Again, if you or someone in your family finds yourself in need, either through the probate process or wanting to create an estate plan, please visit our website at www.aswhitelaw.com. That's www.aswhitelaw.com, or feel free to call me at 770-880-3139. Here at the Law Office of A.S. White, we lawyer with love, and we will meet you or your family with a loving disposition. I look forward to hearing from you.
My name is Herman Williams. I'm a master herbalist, herbal practitioner. There's a difference. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't offer medical advice. I offer herbal healing advice. Okay, and as you can see, I offer a whole array of different herbs. Herbs are what helps the body to be healthy. Your body's made of minerals. Where do you get these minerals? From Mother Nature's herbs. Okay, and when you're diagnosed with high blood pressure, diabetes, you're not supposed to live with those diseases. You can reverse those things, because if you don't, if you try to manage it, it will get worse over time. Let Mother Nature reverse your disease. Give me a call, 770-714-9107. Let's have a conversation about getting you off of those meds. I don't take people off their medications, their doctors does. I just assist them in getting off.
Okay, you guys, that was a message from our sponsors. So, again, if you guys want to be a sponsor, reach out to us by sending us a message on the website detailproductions.net. And there you can scroll down to the bottom and put in the contact us area some information, and somebody will reach out with you back to you, or you can messenger us here at Let's Talk. So, thank you so much for watching that. So, you guys, without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest. She's no stranger to the show, Dr. Valder Crowder, also known as affectionately known as Dr. V. I have a quick video that I want to share with you guys of a presentation that she did. And after it's over, she's going to come on and take you all's questions and discuss mental health and gun violence and how serious it really, really is. So, you guys, without further ado, let me go ahead and share this video with you all. All right.
How is mental health related to gun violence? Well, this can be very confusing and controversial, and I'm going to try to lay it out in a very plain and simple manner. Mental illnesses are diagnosed based upon standards in the Bible of mental health disorders. The Bible of mental health disorders is the DSM, and it's put together by the American Psychiatric Association. Now, when you look at violence and the relationship to mental health disorders, the agency that has studied this the most is the National Institute of Mental Health, which is part of NIH. NIH has created two categories of mental illness. One is any mental illness. For any mental illness, there's no increased incidence of violence, and there's no increased incidence of the person being a victim or a perpetrator. Now, there's serious mental illness, which are people who have problems completing some activity of daily life, either working or caring for themselves or keeping a home. These people are actually 3 times more likely to be a perpetrator of violence, and they're 11 times more likely to be a victim of violence. Any mental illness included 44.6 million Americans. Of those, 57% had not received any mental health treatment in the last year. When you looked at serious mental illness, that was 10.4 million adults, of which 35% have not received any mental health treatment in the last year. With treatment, the increased risk of gun violence goes away. In America today, mental illness is more common than diabetes. However, if you're going to get treated, it is more difficult to find mental illness care than it is to find diabetic care. So let me explain why I say that. In 60% of American counties, there's not a single psychiatrist. If you look at rural counties, 80% of rural counties do not have a single psychiatrist. Many of these counties are clustered together, so patients may have to drive through multiple counties to actually see a psychiatrist to get diagnosis and medical treatment. I think it is important to understand the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist. A psychiatrist is a physician that has done a medical residency. A psychologist is a PhD that has done possibly an outpatient clinical rotation. A psychiatrist, which is a physician, is the only person that can diagnose and prescribe medication. Psychologists are also important in that they provide weekly behavioral, cognitive, and other therapies. So when you hear someone talk about gun violence is related to mental illness, it is actually more related to our broken mental health care system. We can use the same public health approach to improve our mental health system and take care of those that have any mental illness or serious mental illness as a means to decrease gun violence.
Without further ado, we're going to bring on Dr. V.
Hi, how are
Hey,
you?
how are you, Dr. V?
I'm doing good. I'm doing
Oh my
good.
gosh, that video is amazing. I mean, it really breaks down everything, like especially the thing that blew me away was the psychiatrists in the counties and how spread thin they are. My
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Sometimes people, they call for an appointment. They're like, I'm getting an appointment in 6 months. Why? Well, that's why.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. The craziness that happened last Saturday was it's just heartbreaking.
yeah.
I actually know of someone's who that was their great grandmother, that was
Hmm.
killed. And it's just so sad. Although in that case, I don't know, Dr. V. I don't think he had mental illness. He had a plan, he plotted it out. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting. People think that because someone doesn't has a plan that they can't be mentally ill, but that's actually not true.
Okay.
Mental illness actually can be associated with a high level. It can be associated with a high IQ, right? Think about The Beautiful Mind, the movie The Beautiful
Yeah,
Mind,
yeah.
right? So someone can be very smart, very strategic, and also be mentally ill. There are, I don't, yeah, I don't know this particular, I haven't examined him and I don't know him. There are some things though that I think are very concerning, that kind of lean towards mental illness, which is that he actually had paranoid thoughts that his cat was going to be hurt by this other stray cat in the neighborhood, and because of that, he killed the stray cat.
Mm.
And so you'll often find people with mental illness, and particularly people who are violently mentally ill, will often do things to animals prior to doing something to human beings. So that follows that particular pattern. But I don't, I don't know exactly. I haven't seen him. I haven't examined him. I can't really say what his issues are.
Oh my goodness. Wow, that's interesting, especially the piece that you said with animals, how they harm them first. And
Yeah.
oh my gosh, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I would definitely say for people, if you have a young child in your family and they've harmed an animal and you think, well, I'm just going to tell him not to do that or something, that is a very, very, very significant early sign of mental illness when you have a child or a young person that actually harms an animal.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Oh my gosh. So, in your opinion, what will it take to stop all the mental health related shootings? Should police be trained specifically on how to handle mental health, potential gunmen, or what's your thoughts on that?
No, you have to get all of these folks, and that's how come in the segment I did the whole thing on how many people haven't received mental health treatment.
Mm.
We need to actually really push out mental health providers and license and train additional mental health providers. I would offer, we're beyond the point of actually needing a visa program and bringing over physicians and mental health providers that maybe want to actually immigrate to this country. We have more people actually leaving the field with retirement than going into the field. So there's a deficit now, and that deficit is just growing. What happens when people get into, an emergency situation is they usually come to the emergency department, and that's where I see them, right? And so we medically clear patients, and we also see them for psychiatric emergencies, and also sign the paperwork for them sometimes to be involuntarily committed. And once they're involuntarily committed, I've had people stay in the emergency department for weeks
Oh,
waiting for a bed,
oh,
right? So we just don't have the capacity. So I think, one thing that we have to really do is really actually make this an issue so that we're demanding the resources to actually have the capacity in our neighborhoods.
oh my gosh. Wow. That's interesting how you said they have waited weeks
Yeah.
for. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So,
Yeah.
you talked about some of the red flags going back to them hurting an animal. So, going back to this young man and even the shooter that was back in Michigan that went and shot up his high school and so forth,
Yeah.
you know, they both cases there was a warning flag and they looked into it and they said, "Oh, he's fine."
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Why do they just brush it under the rug? Is it because the resources are so limited or?
Well, I think that, I think parents don't want to actually think, oh, my son could be mentally ill, right? So they don't want to really engage those services. I tell people it's really important just that, a lot of people throughout their lives need to actually, sit down and speak with a psychiatrist or a psychologist just with normal life and normal trauma. So I think that, one is we have to sort of normalize sort of the check-in, and I think that, I tell people all the time, you're not the professional. So there might be things that you're not aware of how significant they are. And there may be things that you think are significant that are not significant, right? So I think, one or two visits in front of the professional would make a really, really big difference. I've always said I think that some of the schools, they barely have a school nurse, but they should have school psychologists and school psychiatrists for students to go into and talk to. Because sometimes the kids are actually more open to going than necessarily their parents bringing them.
Mm.
But having problems in school is another sign, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
you'll often see that kids will have difficulty either socializing, making friends. Some of them may actually get withdrawn to the point where they actually drop out of school. In the South Carolina, the Charleston Church Mother Emanuel shooting, he had dropped out of school. So that's an activity of daily life that kind of suggests more of a serious mental illness.
Oh my gosh. And it's funny that you talked about the parents piece here in Atlanta. Just, I think just the other day, I believe there was a gentleman, his mother called the Atlanta City Police and said, "Hey, my son's got some mental issues. I think he's going up to his old job." I don't have all the details, but I do know she called the police department,
Yeah.
said he's unstable. He goes up there, gets into a tussle with the security guard, shoots him, and Atlanta police shows up and kills him. And so now she's on the news saying, "I told you guys."
Yeah.
So, how do you think, what is the best way to handle that from your perspective as a medical doctor? How do you fix it so people aren't killed in that manner?
Yeah. So, there's really not a lot of resources. Let's say you're a family member and you're dealing with someone in your family that's mentally ill, right? It's not like you can just call a crisis team and they're going to come to your house and give you some help, right? There's
Okay.
not, yeah, again, resources, right?
Okay.
So usually what you're left with trying to do is trying to get that person into a car and get them to the emergency department.
Mm,
And if they're not willing to go to the emergency department and they leave, right, and they go off on their own, then you're kind of left with trying to actually chase them or find them, which is what the situation you're describing. And that is significantly more dangerous because they could be found engaging in some activity that could lead them to be injured or killed, right? And that's how come a lot of times when you talk about mental illness and gun violence, there are 11 more times to be the victim of gun violence. 11 times more likely to be the victim of gun violence if you have a serious mental illness, because they could look like they are out of control or dangerous, etc. And so the antidote for that and the treatment for that is for them to actually get treatment, right? So
mm.
that goes away completely with treatment. So all the risks for gun violence, either as a perpetrator or as a victim, go away with treatment.
Wow. That's so deep.
Yeah.
That's so deep. And then I thought about this too. Again, I'm not a doctor or I'm not in the policing field, but what are your thoughts on, yeah, I know this sounds bad, but I'm just curious, those individuals that are teetering, that are unstable, that, like you say, you can't get them in a car to get them to go elsewhere. Should they be wearing a bracelet? Should there be some sort of indication so when police encounter them, they know what they're up against? And maybe they'll have special officers or resources that can talk that person down from the ledge, so to speak. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Maryland has done a very good job with this. So
Okay.
Maryland has a 911 mental health unit that does it goes along with the police, or it actually in some areas it is available for the police to call to get advice while they're on the scene, to help with how to actually handle or manage a particular situation. So there are some states that have enacted things like that, and it makes a dramatic difference in the outcomes of some of these situations. It doesn't necessarily help the situation for what happened in Buffalo, but it does make a difference in some scenarios.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's awesome that Maryland has
Yeah.
that. Other states need to adopt that then. I know here in
Yes.
Georgia, oh my gosh, in the Atlanta area where I reside, you turn on the news every day, it's a shooting. One case, young, I think she was a teenager or young lady was driving. She cut a lady off. The lady speeds up to her, points a gun out the window, and shoots her in the face. Thank God the young lady survived. But it's like, is it that deep? But like you say, we don't know what other issues she was dealing with.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time, I mean, think about the fact that, hey, I might need mental health treatment. I might need to see a mental health doctor, but I can more easily get a gun.
Oh,
I can more easily get a gun than I can get into someone's office, right, and get treatment. So, our system is set up with the mental health system being broken and gun violence and guns being so accessible. You're going to have a problem all the time in that intersection until we actually fix the mental health system.
wow, that's
Yeah.
deep. I know Georgia just passed a law where anybody can get a gun without a permit, unless you're a
Yep.
felon. And
Yep.
it's like, are you kidding me? It's
Yeah.
scary. And going back to the Buffalo, I'm not gonna even say his name. He's not even worthy of me saying his name.
Right.
But the gentleman that killed the people in Buffalo, it's like he
Mhm.
got a gun so easily.
Right.
And it's got to be something in place to just prevent these individuals. Maybe it's just like, hey, there was some concerns with him way back when. Maybe we hold up selling it to him for, I don't know, a month, 2 months, what have you, or you get a full psychiatric review before we can sell you this gun. I mean, is that going
Right.
to?
Well, I don't necessarily think that everybody has to go through a psychiatric review, but I would say this is that, if I see you in the emergency department and you have a newly diagnosed seizure disorder, I can send a letter to the Department of Motor Vehicle and your driver's license is immediately revoked.
Oh,
Now, if I see someone in the emergency department that is dangerously mentally ill, I have nobody to contact.
oh,
Right? So I think some of this is just setting up, we as the professionals, we see these patients. I know in Pennsylvania, they have laws where if you actually have an involuntary psychiatric admission, that goes to a database in the gun stores. So someone selling you the gun can see that information. But if you do a personal sale, you cannot see that information. So some of this, we can solve these things just like we've solved, made car accidents safer. We've decreased tobacco use. I mean, there's other public health problems that we've put a whole array of solutions to, and we have the ability to do that as well with gun violence.
absolutely. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. That's crazy that it's just so easy just to get a gun and you could just be off your rocker, so
yeah,
to speak.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You guys make sure you chime in questions. And if you're watching this pre-recording, put your information in your questions in the comment section. I'm sure Dr. V will go back and review them. But what advice would you give someone, say for example, if you know someone's not stable and you know they
Mhm.
have a gun or they're going to buy one, what can that individual do? Whether it's a neighbor, family member, is there an anonymous tip line you can call or?
So that depends upon what state you're in.
Oh,
So certain states have what we call a red flag law. And a
okay.
red flag law means that, I have a family member or someone in my family that I believe is dangerously mentally ill, and they have a gun, and I believe that there is a problem with them having a gun. So you can go in. It's almost like a domestic violence restraining order, and you can actually go in and actually that person, they'll go to the house in DC, they'll go to the house and they'll take that person's gun away, they'll go before a judge, they'll have a mandatory mental health examination, and then if they are deemed to be unsafe, then their gun is taken away from them, and if they're deemed to be safe, then the gun is returned to them.
Mm,
So, but red flag laws, one of the things that I've been a big proponent of is red flag laws, a federal red flag law in every state. So
yes.
that, because many of us, and red flag laws for us as physicians, when we know someone is dangerous, we need to be able to say something. We need to have a mechanism. And it shouldn't be, stopping what we're doing at work and sitting in court for a week, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, right. Because we see a fair amount of people that shouldn't have guns.
I can imagine.
Right. So anyhow, yeah, and so some of these processes, these are simple. These are what I call common gun sense laws that need to be put in place. Someone mentally ill should not have a gun. Someone who's dangerously mentally ill
Mm,
should not have a gun. And if we know that they do, we should be able to have an easy trigger system to kind of to deal with that and get that away from them so they can stay safe and get to treatment and their family can stay safe and get to treatment.
absolutely. And if not, what I foresee it becoming like the Wild Wild West. Everyone's gonna have a gun. You'll have to go through a metal detector at the grocery store, the movies, everywhere you go.
Right,
It just seemed like it'd be a simple solution to just get,
right.
more physicians out there that can help.
Well, I think, one thing is people have to vote. You have to
Oh,
know how your politicians stand on this issue,
mhm.
and the politicians that are not actually keeping your community safe, you need to vote them out. Right? I mean, it is just, I say the same thing, with COVID. I mean, there are some politicians that are not for your health care. They are not for your safety. And you've got to put your family first.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, you've got to really, look at who's going to make a difference in this issue and get them in so that we can actually get some of these changes enacted.
Oh my gosh, definitely, definitely. It seems like the audience is a little shy tonight on the questions, rightfully so. They're probably like, I don't want them to think I'm crazy.
Well, that's okay.
I know, right? So what advice would you give? Oh, somebody does have a question. Julius, he's checking in from
Okay.
Memphis. He says, "Evening, Dr. V. What role does genetics have in this issue?" Ooh, that's a good question.
It's a very good question. That is a very good question. So mental illness does run in families, and we do believe that it is genetically linked in certain situations, not
Mm,
all situations. But there is a genetic link to mental illness that we haven't quite figured out exactly. It doesn't seem to be something that is a straightforward genetic link like a hemophilia or a sickle cell disease. It's not as straightforward, but there is if you have someone in your family that is mentally ill, they are more likely to have mental illness in their family. So there is a genetic link.
And so, with that being a genetic link, would you advise that individual to get a checkup at some point in their life to kind of jump ahead of possible?
No, because it really has it doesn't have it doesn't have a straight carry through.
Okay.
Like I said, like sickle cell anemia. So you know, I tell people most mental illnesses present themselves between 15 and 26 years old.
Mm,
Um, and certainly, by the time someone is 30 years old, 30 years old or so, if they uh, have a mental illness, it's presented in some way, whether or not it's difficulty at work, um, difficulty in relationships, difficulty in friendships, difficulty in marriages, uh, those sorts of things. So yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily just because you have a family member that's mentally ill, I wouldn't necessarily say you have to get checked, but I certainly would say that you have to be more aware of it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
So, since everybody's all shy, what advice would you give, when you see your patients in the emergency room or just people in general that you come in passing? Anything in general that you would want to share with anybody?
Specifically about dealing with mental illness,
Or anything, Dr. V, since you're here.
since I'm here. Well, I think the main thing I say to people is, try to get in to see someone before things get too serious,
Mm,
right? Sometimes folks, they're feeling a little stressed, they're feeling a little anxious. I tell people go early, right? Go early and try to really get a handle on it and develop some coping mechanisms and some things that actually really work for you, right? A lot of times I see people wait until things have gotten really, really bad.
mm,
And I also see a lot of folks these days that are stressed out at work and
mm,
overworking. And it's really, really important to, figure out what are the things that you need for your mental well-being. How many days off do you need in a week? What do you need to be doing as far as exercising? What are the things that actually make you happy and feel stable and feel balanced, right? And make sure that you do those things and encourage others to do it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, while I got you, I got one question for you.
Okay.
What is your thoughts? This is off topic, of course, but I'm just curious why I got you. With all these COVID cases shooting up, is it because a lot of people's effect, how do you say it? If I can get that word out, where the
Efficacy.
yes, thank you. Is so low because they got vaccinations last year, but they're still walking around without a mask saying, I'm
Yeah,
vaccinated. What
yeah,
are your
yeah,
thoughts on
yeah.
that?
You have got people. So I'm glad you brought this up. It is so important that people get their booster. If you
Mm,
have not gotten your third vaccine, you need to get your third vaccine. The third vaccine is what helps to prevent hospitalization. And if you're over 50, you should get your fourth vaccine. I've already had four.
me too.
Yeah, and so I tell people it's really because it is. People are starting to act like, oh, it's back to normal. It's not back to normal. All of the COVID cases are going up. The COVID hospitalizations are going up. we just pronounced somebody dead this week from COVID in the emergency department while I was working. And so it's back. Do you know what I mean? It's not overwhelming our healthcare system right now. Anybody that is not vaccinated at all, you are going to catch it. It's just a matter of when, right? It's now or later. So I tell people, just make sure. I think they said Eric Clapton, who was a big anti-vaxxer, just caught COVID and had to come off tour. And so I just tell people, it is really important to get your vaccine. Now, one of the great things is that now we have the Paxlovid, which is the pill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you have to take it within, I think it's like 4 or 5 days of your symptoms starting. So if you have symptoms and you think it's your allergies and it can't be COVID, make sure to get tested, because if you wait too long, that pill doesn't work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so those are the things. I think between the pill and the monoclonal antibodies, it'll be a much different winter. It'll be a much different winter this winter.
Well, that's good. And
Yeah.
what do you think about the mask? If you've got that fourth booster, should you still recommend wearing
I
masks?
wear my mask all the time.
Yeah.
If I'm indoors, I wear my mask. I mean, if I'm indoors with myself, I obviously don't wear my mask. But if I'm indoors with other people,
Mhm.
I mean, I might be at a meeting with other people, like at the hospital,
Mhm.
where there might be maybe 3 of us and we're vaccinated and we're in a big conference room. Do you know what I mean? But in general, if I'm indoors, I have my mask on, and then I'm outdoors, I take my mask off.
Mhm.
So I just keep my mask on all the time. And that's what I recommend for folks. So
Yes. And you know what's so crazy about it is that, people will say I'm vaccinated, but you really don't know if they are or not. So it's like,
you don't know if they
yeah,
are or not, and you don't know if they're vaccinated, like 2 vaccines, or if they had a booster, or
right.
what they, you don't know what they had. So, I tell people, I just continue to wear my mask. I get my hair done today. I still have my mask on. So I
Mhm.
just I just continue to wear my mask until we get through this completely.
Absolutely.
Because right now it just seems to be, it's really changing. Like it's really COVID-19 is like, now we're seeing people where they're having sore throats. You used to never have a sore throat with COVID-19, right?
Wow.
So the disease is really changing, and it seems to be constantly changing and reinventing itself, which is not good for us.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, yeah,
Goodness. I
yeah.
just had one last question come in for you, for Rita. She said the children that are diagnosed with ADHD, is there a connection to their mental illness? Ooh.
So interesting. So ADHD is attention deficit disorder and hyperactivity. And that is considered to be a mental illness. It is part of the DSM-5. And so when she says, is it connected to mental illness, I'm not sure if she means, is it connected to like depression or bipolar disease, but attention deficit disorder and hyperactivity disorder is part of the DSM-5
Mm,
diagnoses of a mental health or behavioral health um, problem. And
wow.
so, yeah, so that is important. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, I wore you out with all these
I
questions.
know, I know, I know, I know. You know what question I thought I was gonna get?
Uh-oh, what was it?
Is racism a mental illness?
Oh, now that's deep. That is one. Hey, expound on that, because some of these children are raised up with that. Yeah, please expound on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So one of and this is what we're seeing, like with the Buffalo shooting and the Charleston, South Carolina shooting, and there is now a debate among psychiatrists nationwide about whether or not some mental illnesses, um, people focus on, like for instance, religion. You've heard people who are mentally ill, maybe they'll be constantly talking about Jesus or God or something, or the devil or Satan or whatever it may happen to be. So some mental illnesses, just as they can focus on religion, some of them can focus on race,
Oh.
right, as part of their hallucinations or delusions, etc. But they've also been looking at, um, is being a racist or being susceptible to a cult or cult like thinking, um, also a mental illness. And it is a raging debate right now in the field of psychiatry with
Wow.
no particular answer. So, so I know a lot of people say, "Well, why are you talking about mental illness and gun violence just because of Buffalo? He was racist." I don't know. We don't know that. I don't. I tell people I don't know if he was just racist, and I don't know if he was just mentally ill, or if he was mentally ill and racist. I don't know, but there are certainly some things, when you look at someone who had problems in school and, killed a neighborhood cat, that makes you think that there was possibly some underlying mental illness there.
Wow.
So I just think it's going to be something that I think there's going to be a lot of pushback from the Black community that's not going to want to actually accept racism as a mental illness.
I think you're right. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow.
Right, 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 right.
Because whenever it's someone of color that does something, oh, they were an animal, they were a beast, they were this.
Mhm.
But when they do something, they'll say, oh, he was just, mentally,
Correct, correct. Similar to, as I always tell people, crack cocaine was a criminal, you were a criminal, and now opioid is opioid use disorder. No, no, no. Those are the heroin addicts that you put in jail years ago in our neighborhood.
right.
No,
Oh,
it's not now opioid use disorder, right? We should have some compassion.
definitely, definitely. And
So,
Julius, he does say interesting about the racist comments. Yeah, I think that is interesting that it's a big debate. Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
it really
Oh
is.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
Well, we got to have you come back on more often. We miss having you on Let's Talk. You're just a wealth of knowledge. I appreciate you so much.
you're welcome. You're
And don't let
welcome.
them work you too hard.
I won't. I won't. I won't. It was good being with you this evening, and thanks for inviting me.
Definitely. Thank you, Dr. V. Talk with you
Okay.
soon.
All
Okay.
right. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye. Yes, indeed. I love her to pieces. She's always just honest and truthful, no matter what. I mean, sometimes the truth hurts, but she's very, very good at what she does. So it'd been a minute since she'd been on. And like I said, with the Buffalo shootings, I thought it would be befitting to have her come on and talk about that. So one thing I want to share with you guys, if by any chance, she talked about the resources being limited and things of that nature. But if you have any questions about mental health or just whatever, report it, call on it, find out about it, because we've got to do better. We've got to prevent some stuff. Like I said earlier in the show, we lost a young man in Atlanta. He had some mental issues. I know of someone that was a skater that we used to skate with. She really was there for her son a lot, and he snapped and killed his mother. So mental illness is real, and it's so sad that we don't have the resources that we need. But however, we can read up on it, find out about it, and take precautionary measures to prevent things from happening. So I'm scrolling number down at the bottom, 818-666-615-6464. It's the National Institute of Mental Health. So that's there for you guys, okay? All righty. So without further ado, we're going to have the Let's Talk Hollywood segment with my brother, actor comedian Donald Lett. As you guys have been watching, he's been evolving and making changes to his segment. Sometimes he has funny stuff, sometimes he has serious stuff, but primarily the focus and the purpose is to share Hollywood. He lives in Los Angeles, and he's acting and he's doing stand-up comedy, and so he comes into contact with a lot of stuff. So it's just his way of sharing the know with us, you guys. So let me go ahead and share Let's Talk Hollywood with actor comedian Donald Lett.
What's up, y'all? This is your boy Donald Lett. I'm at my brand new location. I hope you like it. It's a theater. This is gonna be home from here on out with the show with my sis. Check this out. So I got a few things I want to talk about. One is Chris Rock. The Academy Awards asked him, would he be willing to host the 2023 Academy Awards? And I'm curious to see if he would or not. Um, because this is kind of a redemption. This is really fresh. So for them to come out and say, hey, would you be willing to host the 2023 Academy Awards? It's like, okay, you're gonna ask him that like now? Like you should ask him that like just give it a few more months. This is a little too soon. But it would be good viewership, and I think that's where they're coming from. I think they asked him for a little bit of everything. Hey, Chris, you can clear the air, and we could get viewership. It's good for both parties, I guess. It's whatever it is, whatever it is. So, that being said, kudos to you, Chris, because you through this whole situation, you handled it just like a man should. You handled it very maturely. There was no clapbacks in the media. It's been talked about for so many weeks now, and it's a funky situation. So hats off to you, Chris, for sure. Now, this Johnny Depp case is kind of confusing to me. I'm not going to go in depth in it. Because I really don't know the whole dynamics of it. All I know is that he's getting asked questions on the stand about his career and stuff like that, which is weird to me. Like, why are you talking about the films and, you know what I mean? Like, what is this case about? What is this really about? So this is a really dynamic or a weird twist to a court thing that's happening. So I really am not going to touch too much into it, but to me it's just weird when celebrities are on the witness stand and they don't get taught. The questions they get asked by the opposing lawyer is never. It's weird. It really is. So I'm not going to go in deep in that. So another news is that there's a show called The Pivot. It's a podcast by ex-athletes, and it's a really good podcast. So they recently interviewed Shaquille O'Neal, and they asked Shaquille O'Neal about his previous marriage. And he admitted that he cheated and he did all this other stuff and boom, boom, boom. And his interview was really impactful. And what I thought about it is that, wow, he was very vulnerable in his interview, and he admitted that it was him. And Shani, his baby mama, the mother of his children, he said that she was everything, and it was all him. And I took something from that. So I want to say something to the fellas, okay? Fellas, listen to what Shaq said. He's admitting that he could have been a better husband. He was out there, he had money, he was rich, he was getting all these different women. And he didn't lie about that. And for all you men out there that don't even have fraction of his money and doing your woman wrong, we need to wise up. If you want to be single, be single. If you want to mingle, be mingle. But if you're married, you need to be true and stay to your wife and remember and honor the marriage. And if you don't, be honest. Leave. Do not do that because it hurts all parties, everybody involved. So when he said that, it was really impactful.
All right. That is from actor comedian Donald Lett. Yes, indeed. So like I said, his segment is Let's Talk Hollywood. Super excited to have him on board. Sometimes he's going to share funny stuff, and sometimes he's going to share, serious matters of the heart, if you will. And he has the know into Hollywood. So, all right, you guys, I want to thank Dr. V for coming on to have such a serious talk about mental health and, gun violence and what's going on in the world. And I never realized that, we have such limited resources to help these individuals. So we got to stay prayed up, you guys. But I do want to share a positive note with you guys. And basically, I found this, and it says, if you don't have to struggle and you don't have to struggle in silence, you can live well with a mental illness as long as you open up to someone about it. And that's from Demi Lovato. And so that's basically saying, just open up about it. People struggle with that all the time. And so I want to close out the show by saying, if you or someone suffer from mental health issues and need help, call the National Institute of Mental Health. And that number, again, is 866 615 6464, and it's scrolling down there at the bottom. So you guys, let's stay prayed up, and if we know someone that's struggling, let's make sure that we do all that we can to get them the support and help that they need. And as I tell you guys every single week, make this place a better place to live. You know, there's so much going on, wars and shootings and all this craziness. Stay prayed up. But most importantly, do one good thing for one person each day, and you can affect 365 lives. Just make sure whether it's opening a door for somebody, saying good morning, smiling at them, giving them a compliment, what have you, just do something good. All right, you guys. So if no one's told you this week that they love you, know that I love you. You guys stay safe out there. COVID is not gone. Stay safe. If you haven't gotten your booster, get your booster, because the last thing you want to do is end up on an incubator or sick or have some after effects. So again, you guys, if no one's told you that they love you, know that I love you. And with those parting words, see you next week, and I'm out.